Yeah. So, by any chance, have you got a chance to watch the first day of session? I mean, the previous week session, or uh, anybody could recollect what did we discuss on day one?
It was mostly about types of performance testing and why do
Mm.
we do performance testing and all.
Okay. Yeah, and also we discussed about what is functional and what is non-functional, and what is performance testing, basically. And we have we saw up to the soak testing. So after that, we'll see the other types of testing today. So we'll start with, I think we saw about spike testing last week. And today we'll start with the next one, that is volume testing. Yeah, so before we move on, let's have just a quick intro. So just give an introduction, guys, about you, and then we'll start from there. Myself, Vasant, and I'm the one who is coordinating all the videos from the Little Sly YouTube channel. And I mainly work as a DevOps engineer, a platform engineer, and who takes care of platform related, DevOps related activities in my team. And out of passion, out of interest, and with my previous experience, I'm taking videos on performance testing, performance engineering, DevOps related videos as well. And yeah, and another quick information, like for those who are interested in DevOps engineering, you guys have a good news coming next year. And yeah, can start with Ashish Singh. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, Ashish can start. Ashish, we cannot hear you. Sorry. Fine, no worries. I'm not sure what. I think there should be some problem with your volume. Bhaskar, can go ahead with you.
Yes, Vasant, are you able to hear me?
I can able to hear you now.
Yes, my name is Bhaskar, and I'm having 2.5 years of experience on performance testing
Hmm.
using load runner and JMeter tools.
Hmm.
So last 4 months back, I have changed the company.
Hmm.
So where I have gone through your videos like thread
Hmm.
dump, heap dump, garbage collection,
Hmm.
and JMeter integration with Azure CI/CD pipeline and all.
Hmm.
And after learning from your videos, I could able to crack the interview from in the Infosys. Currently,
Hmm.
the client is Infosys.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Thank you for your videos and all.
No, no problem, no problem. You're welcome. So you already have a lot of knowledge, so I think we can learn from you as well. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Yeah, then we'll go with Johan.
Able to hear me now, Basant?
Yes, Ashish, I can hear you now. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So, hey, hi, my name is Asis. I work as a web automation engineer,
Hmm.
and I mostly uh, have a knowledge on web automation
Hmm.
APIs, and some little knowledge in DevOps part because I love to know that. So, this is my interest to learn all the different kind of testing we do, not a
Hmm.
particular
Hmm.
one area I want to settle down. So
Hmm.
that's why I started going through some videos in YouTube, and
Hmm.
I am following you from a long time.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I see your things. So yeah, it is really nice. Yeah, I will learn a lot from you in DevOps.
Sure, sure, definitely. Thank you so much, Ashish. Thank you. And yeah, we'll go with Johan then. Johan,
Hello, Mr. Facility.
can you be a little bit louder? We cannot hear you. Sorry.
How about my voice right now? Is this okay?
Yeah, good, good, good. Please.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Fasan and everyone. I'm Johan from Indonesia.
Mhm.
Actually, my job, current job is DevOps, but it's related.
Sorry, we cannot hear you, Johan. I think the volume is still down.
Hello, hello, hello,
Yeah,
hello.
yeah. Now a
Uh,
little bit better.
a little bit better. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, better.
Okay. I'm Johan. I'm from Indonesia. So my current job that actually is DevOps, but I
Okay.
enthusiast testing. So my
Mhm,
current situation is there is I saw a lot of videos about performance because
mhm.
I'm so like this testing because my
Okay.
current company we have a argument between the devs and the infra always complain about the performance of the system. So I would like
Mhm.
to learn from you. This is thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Johan. Welcome to our session. And I will go with Madhav. Hi, Madhav. Good afternoon. Yeah, Madhav. Sorry, we cannot hear you, Madhav. I think you are talking, but we cannot hear you. Sorry. Okay, no worries. Just let us know when you are ready. Manvita, good afternoon.
Hello, Vasan. So
Hi.
I've been in the industry for about 4 years now. The
Mm-hmm,
first 2 years, I have worked as a pure functional tester.
mm-hmm.
In my
Okay.
current organization, I work under the performance testing team, but I personally don't do performance testing. I am actually a scripting engineer for them. I
Mm-hmm,
basically develop scripts using Python programming language and
mm-hmm,
SQL.
mm-hmm. Okay.
So whatever load generation scripts they need, I
Mm-hmm.
make them and I create the load in the
Okay.
database
Okay.
basically for the
Okay.
performance testers to use.
Mm-hmm,
But about 3 months back, I was intrigued by the way they were doing performance testing, and I wanted to learn that skill for myself.
okay.
That
Okay.
is when I came to YouTube to learn things,
Mm-hmm,
and that's how I found your channel.
mm-hmm,
And there were a plenty of channels, or I would say Udemy courses and all that were teaching performance testing, but none of them was actually teaching the concepts as such. Most of
mm-hmm,
them are focused on tools majorly,
mm-hmm,
especially JMeter or LoadRunner, whatever tool they're
mm-hmm,
using. But nothing is focusing on concepts or are giving a real time
mm-hmm.
experience. They're not sharing the real time work,
Okay.
which I wanted to, and that is
Mm-hmm.
how I ended up with your class.
Sure. Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Manvita. Hope you get used, and please do practice. That's what
Yeah,
I would say in all my videos. So once it's not just about watching, it's just you have to watch and then you have to keep on practicing. So that's the key
definitely.
to success, and all the very best. Yeah. And Mohan, thank you. Thanks, Manvita. Yeah, Mohan.
Hey, hello everyone. So this
Hi.
is Mohan. I am into automation testing.
Mm-hmm,
So out of interest, I wanted to learn performance testing.
mm-hmm,
So my brother suggested me this, and I
mm-hmm.
joined today only. This is my first class.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Then say thanks to your brother as well for
Welcome.
him to introduce my channel. Thank you. And yeah, I will go with Muthu. Muthu.
Yeah, Vasant, I have completed already my introduction previous section.
You came last week. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks, Muthu. Thanks for joining the second AF session as well. Thank you
yeah,
so
yeah.
much.
Thank you, Vasant.
Yeah, yeah. We're waiting for your discussion like last week as well.
Yeah, yeah.
No problem. Thank you. And Nagarjun.
Hi everyone. I'm Nagarjun, and I have 3 years experience as performance tester. Like, I used to watch my actually I used to watch our YouTube channel when I joined this organization, and it helped a lot to upskill. So currently, I'm watching your updates on performance engineering. So I want to upskill myself into a performance engineer.
Okay.
And I saw your post on LinkedIn, and I ended up joining this session.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Sure. Thank you so much, Nagarjun and Rajesh.
Yeah, Vasant. This is Rajesh from Bangalore.
Mhm.
I'm working as a senior software test engineer in Synchronous from 2011.
Mhm.
Initially, I worked as a functional tester, basically in the backend APIs.
Mhm.
Later, I moved on to only automation. From last 2 years, I'm working on the front end UI part as well as I'm
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
recently our company started with K6.
Okay.
So I was searching for some good videos. I thought like your videos for K6 was very good to understand.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
just like to understand more about performance testing. But
Okay.
previously I used to run like I used to use IXload and Pure Load, some of the day
Mhm.
two
Mhm.
internal office actually. But I didn't
Okay.
explode at the time due
Okay.
to project changes. Now
Okay.
I see I'm in the right place to know the
Mhm.
on the thing, and I also have like done a course in DevOps before 3 years back, 3 years back,
Mhm.
uh,
Okay.
but uh, went to that site actually. But I want to
Sure. Sure. Definitely.
thank you, Vasant.
Yeah, just a quick update, like I was telling you. So yeah, so from the coming year, like we have a lot of information, a lot of news on DevOps as well. So there are like much more news coming on for those who are interested to learn DevOps. And again, nowadays DevOps is part of everybody's work, so everybody must learn. I would say it's a kind of getting like a basic fundamentals for any IT engineer. So we'll explore more into the DevOps as well. And thank you so much for joining. And Rupa Chandra, good afternoon.
Yeah, hi,
Rupa
Vasan.
Chandra, yeah.
Yeah,
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 hi, hello.
yeah. I'm a performance tester working, have around 6+ years of experience into performance
Mhm.
testing.
Okay.
So my knowledge is something limited to testing the backend scenarios like APIs
Mm-hmm.
and recording network calls, so such things. But something I've
Mm.
been missing out is something UI performance testing, that UI performance issues.
Okay. Okay.
Something I'm missing out, and the setup of these monitoring tools for the initial setup.
Mm.
If
Mm.
I if to instance that are being running in clouds and all right, and setting up if you want to integrate that with the Visual VM like open source monitoring tools, right? That's some initial setup knowledge I'm being missing out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking for these concepts majorly. As you said that you are going to start some DevOps related activities sessions, right?
Mm.
If you can
Mm.
cover initially, how we can this open source monitoring tools, how we can integrate with
Mm.
the cloud infrastructure, that will help me definitely. Yeah, and I think if you can remember me, we have connected earlier our chat in LinkedIn chat related
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
yeah. Related to how to invoke a JMeter in corporate folks, behind corporate
Right.
folks. Yeah,
Right.
I got the solution. Yeah, I'm been able to work with that now. Yeah, and that's something.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that I could help you sometime.
Yeah,
Sure. Thanks, Rajendra, for joining. And I think you're joining for the first time, right? This day, today.
yeah, I'm from first time
Okay.
joining
Yeah.
this organization,
Okay.
but I've been following you on these YouTube channels and your videos.
Okay. Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rajendra. And Sai,
Yeah, hi Vasant.
hello.
Yeah. Yeah, I have worked on performance testing as using LoadRunner, and recently I have
Mm-hmm.
started working on JMeter, and that's why I
Mm-hmm.
came here. And
Mm-hmm.
last class also, I have first class also I have joined at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember. Thank you, Sai.
I
And
hope you are
Shine. Yeah.
covering. Yeah, I hope you are covering the performance tester, performance center as well in this class.
Performance Center, it's not yet in the syllabus, but yeah, we will cover if we get enough time. And if we get enough people, yeah, sure. But we will just plan it, Sai.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And Shine, I remember you were there in the previous session as well, right? Shine, can you hear me? You're on mute. Okay, no worries. Sridhar, good afternoon. Sridhar, can you hear me? You're on mute as well.
Hi,
Yeah. Hi, Sridhar.
yeah, I have experience in functional testing. I am looking for to explore more things in performance testing. I was searching in the YouTube. I was able to know your channel at that time. Today is the first class, so have joined this.
Sure. No
So I
problem.
need to
Thank you.
learn
Thanks
the
for joining.
performance testing. I don't know the basics, where to start and where to end. So I was searching. So will you explaining all those things in this?
Yeah, that's the plan. So I think I hope you have watched my first video, right? Have you got a chance to watch the first day of session? The previous one?
Yes, Vasant, I have watched it.
Oh, no.
Okay, sure. Sure. No worries. At the end of this one, I will share the link, and I hope you have joined my WhatsApp channel as well, where we have giving regular updates on the meetings, the trainings, like whatever we are discussing. And yeah, thanks so much. So please do join the WhatsApp channel as well. Thank you. And Sweta, good afternoon. Sweta, you're on mute. Okay, no worries. We'll move to Teja. Hi, Teja. Teja, good afternoon. Teja, you're on mute. Okay, no worries. We'll move to Tilakavati. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Vasant. I'm Tilakavati from Chennai. Currently, I'm working under the quality assurance team. I'm using the JMeter. I studied previously. I was working in the engineering portion, the model AI related things.
Great.
After that, it's in quality assurance team. We are using the JMeter. I learned from the YouTube only, but I'm not having the basic concept. So I studied a lot of YouTube channels, and from that only I got your YouTube channel. Yesterday I saw your videos. Really, it's good. Basic information I'm not having. That's why I joined.
Okay. Sure, no problem. Yeah, this session is mainly for those who are interested to transition from functional to performance testing. So we'll be discussing all the very basics. We'll start from the basics. We're not going to just stay with that. We're just going to discuss the basics, like from my real experience, and that I think will enable everybody to be a good performance tester or engineer. And thank you so much for joining. And then the next one I could see is VT, your initials. Sorry, I don't know your name. Can you please introduce about yourself, please?
Hi, Vasant. Yeah, I'm Vipin, and I'm currently working in software testing profile. And I have worked on different tools and technologies as part of my job profile. Like I worked on functional testing, automation testing, and mobile testing, as well as API and this performance testing as well. So I'm here just to enhance and brush up my performance testing skills.
Thank you so much, Vipin. And we'll go to Vanaja. Hi, good afternoon. Hi, Vanaja, can you hear me?
Hi, Vasant. Yeah, good afternoon. I'm able to hear you.
Hello.
Yeah. Am I
Yeah, thank
audible
you.
now?
Yeah, we can hear you very well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Thanks. And Venkat. Hi, Venkat. Can you give an introduction about you? Yeah. Hi, Venkat. Good afternoon. Yeah, sorry, I cannot hear you. You're unmuted, but still not able to hear you.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, hi everyone. I have around total 3
Yeah, hi,
personal
Venkat.
testing. I'm new. I'm beginner too.
Mhm.
I have interested to learn JMeter and load runner, and I found out your channel
Mhm.
YouTube. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, so I believe you're all interested to for the day two, and we'll start with the first one, the spike testing. So I think I remember we have discussed about spike testing, and so what is mainly the objective of spike testing, and which scenario we do the spike testing as well. So like any other performance testing types, like for example like load testing or like stress testing, yes, we do introduce a lot of load to spike testing, but what is the difference between the spike and the other testing is the way we inject the load and what is the objective of spike testing. So that makes the difference between the spike testing and the other testing. I mean, again, we normally don't regularly do the spike testing. So like any other testing, we normally don't regularly do the spike testing. Like when I say regularly, so we normally do the load testing, we normally do endurance or like stress whenever it depends on the launching of the applications. But the reason why do we not do the spike testing very oftenly is because the spike testing is to evaluate how the application, like whatever application that you're testing, like how does it behaves and performance under a sudden and a sharp increase or decrease in user load. Say for example, you are running your test with like 200 users, and in this scenario of spike testing, what you do is like you suddenly increase another 200, like another 100 percentage of load to the system. So that's what you do. You just introduce another 100 percentage. Say for example, if you are running your test with 250, you will immediately, I mean, like you are in middle of your application running, like say for example in the 10th minute of your application, you will be immediately adding another 250 users. So what happens is suddenly you are increasing it to 200% of your existing or your current expected load. So what happens is at this point of time, your system will try to handle the request. Like for example, you will be getting a lot of load first to your presentation layer. And then what happens is that load will be properly load balanced by your load balancers to your app server, right? So if they're valid requests, they are sent back to the app servers, and from there, depending on the transactions, depending on the request, they are then again sent back to your database service. They're getting processed, and then they'll send back the responses to you to your browser, right? So the thing is, the way that you introduce is like you'll be running your test, you'll be ramping up your users, and the moment you reach 250 users, say for example from 0 to 250, you'll be ramping up your users, and the moment you are running your test for like 10 minutes, and suddenly you get another. So there are two ways. Either you can ramp. So when you are doing there's one thing I'll say, like when you're doing stress testing, yes, we do introduce load, but what we do introduce in stress testing is when we are running it in stress testing, we do increase like 50 users like for every 5 minutes. It will actually go like this, right? If you're doing stress testing, you would know this, and you will be introducing like 50 users or like 100 users for every 5 minutes. So it will be in this fashion. But when it comes to spike testing, this is the difference. So it suddenly increases to another 250, and then it will again go to the steady state. So that's again going to be your end of the introducing users. You're not going to add any more users to your system after you introduce 250 and then another 250 to your system. It will be like total of 500, and then we will see what happens to your system, like how well your CPU behaves, how well your memory of your systems, your app servers work. So that's what we do in this spike testing. So now you can understand the difference, right? So when you're doing this, what you're doing is you are verifying that if the application remains functional or does it gets crashed at this point of time whenever you're increasing. Because at some point of time, what happens is like when you're introducing these 500 users, at the very next moment your system will get crashed, or you will just check if the application's breaking point is because of any sudden increase. Like say for example, if some due to some scenarios, like let me just give you an example before I discuss that. Say for example, like okay, so what would you measure under the spike testing? So you will measure the response times. That's a very what to say, it's a very critical KPI, key performance indicator. So we'll measure the response times, and then we'll measure the error rate. So how many errors do we get, and what type of errors do we get? So most of us will get the 500 error, like whenever you're testing whenever you're like working on a real-time application, you'll be seeing some 500 error, or you'll be getting 404, the page not found. So all these errors would be evaluated. So how many 500 errors do we get, or how many 404 errors do we get, and what is the throughput that we achieve during this spike? And the next thing is the recovery mechanism. So we have to check whether the application recovers after the spike. So the moment it gets we increase the user load to 500, what happens is like at some point of time uh, the response times will start to spike, because there are no responses. So automatically the the request will wait for the response, and automatically they will keep on increasing, and at some point of time it will again, so the response times will be like keep on hiking, and at some point of time it will come down, and then it'll come to the normal level. So this is how the actual spike testing works. I mean, you could see a lot of errors, the response times may spike, the hits per second may go down, the throughput may go down, but the response times will keep on increasing, and at some point of time the response times will come to a normal level, the hits per second will come to a normal level, and then the throughput also will come to a normal level. So that's how you can understand what is happening in the application, and then you can understand like the weak points in the system. Say for example, if what happens if the server is overloaded, or if there are any database logs. So all these things you can identify when you're doing the spike testing, but also you can pinpoint some of the components which needs to be optimized to handle the sudden traffic surges. So say for example your load balancer. So what if if all your load balancers are enabled or not? What if some of them are working and if some of them are not working? So you can identify all of these only when you do the spike testing and not during the load testing, because when you do your load testing, automatically your cache will be sorry, your servers will be cached. So you keep on testing with the same set of servers, same set of setup. And then when do we do spike testing? So when spike testing, so like I told you, whenever there is a seasonal event. So when I say seasonal events, it can be like the Black Friday session, or it can be like Diwali, whatever, the Christmas season. So all these are like seasonal events. And at this point of time, you can see a lot of users who are waiting for purchasing. So they will just quickly jump in and they will start ordering the items which they've added previously in the cart, previously they've added in the wish list. So they'll do all these. So this is that scenario where we do the spike testing. And then whenever the companies, whenever they're doing any product launches, yes, suddenly there will be like a lot of publicity. People will, I mean, like there are a lot of user attention, and people will suddenly jump in. They wanted to understand what is happening and what the product is launching. Say for example, if a new iPhone is released, or a new Samsung phone is released, or anything new that's been released, automatically people used to jump in. And then say for example the flash sales. Say for example, if some e-commerce company would want to give some lot of uh, uh, sparkle in the market, so they'll just suddenly introduce some flash sales. So at that time, yes, we do have. And then uh, if some apps have some live updates, or something like the trading platforms, or some live streaming service. Say for example, if there is a match, some cricket matches happening, so people used to suddenly, if the match is turning quite interesting, so a lot of people will start to watch the matches, right? So that's again another scenario of spike testing. So people used to get a lot of traffic, and then that's where the spike comes in. So any doubts so far in terms of spike testing? You're good? Any doubts? Can we move to the next one?
So the increase in 100% is beyond your load, right?
Load,
So that,
actual load. Yes, yes.
okay. So the 500 is not your expected load, but you're actually adding another 250.
Yes, we do add 100% of the load. We do add 200, but the thing is, we are not going to keep on adding like what we do for stress,
Got it.
because in stress testing, what we do is we'll start with 250, and then after every 5 minutes, we'll keep on increasing to understand the maximum capacity the system can handle. But here, the objective is to see what happens when there is a sudden spike. So we'll not keep on introducing users one by one, but rather we'll introduce them at one shot. So the
So you
way
don't have
we
any ramp up.
introduce users to the system is different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the way we introduce is different in terms of stress, because in stress, even though if we are going beyond 500 and the system is working fine, we'll keep on introducing the users. But in Spike, what we do is we just introduce either, I mean, like in your first round of test, we'll be introducing like to 100%, and then we won't be introducing any other users after that. But we will have a watch. We will monitor how does the resources works. When I say resources, how does the CPU, how does the memory of the app server work? So we'll keep on eye on how does it work. But we don't keep on adding users while we are doing the Spike testing. Because when we are doing that, when we are keep on adding, then it will become as a stress, because the objective completely changes.
Okay. If you want to run the load test, you'll only run with 250 users. But when you're doing the spike test, you're adding another 250.
Exactly. So if it is a load test, the graph will go like this. Like it will be from 0 to 250, and then it will go till the end. And then after 1 hour or like 2 hours at the end, then it will come down. So it will be the maximum of 250. And here, what the reason is, so our objective is what happens if there's a steady load. And if you remember, there are applications like when I say applications, there are like some regular banking applications, and the banking applications would be having, say for example, like a regular user of uh, uh, 500 users, right? During the normal days, not during the salary day, because during the salary day people will keep on transferring money. But during the other days, like for example, people who normally do the transactions like transfers, deposits, so they'll be like in a steady state. So for those users, you'll be doing the load testing. Yes, Rupachandra, I can hear you have raised your hand. Please go ahead, Rupachandra.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. During this spike testing, how API gateways or load balancers can be a bottleneck to us, and how we can mitigate those issues.
Yeah, what happens is at this point of time, the load balancers, some of the load balancers would not be working, or some of them would not be doing the transfer. I mean, like they would not be doing the proper traffic management. So there are like several other things, like we'll discuss that, like what are the bottlenecks that happens through the load balancers, and what type of algorithm do you use. So sometimes you do use sticky sessions, like for example, like the first, when I talk about sticky sessions, again it's like these servers, sorry, the machines will be sending the request to the same service, because there will be like some sticky sessions, and if you have it there, it will again have bottlenecks. Say for when I talk about sticky sessions, so let me give you an example. So if you are doing some shopping in Amazon or any other websites, so what happens is until you complete your transactions, you will be using the same server. So when I say same server, you'll have your items in your cart, you'll have your items in the memory of the system, and every time when you send, you'll be redirected to the same server. That's called sticky session. So you anytime, like whatever you use, the load balancer will understand your browser's IP, and then it will send the same request to the same server. So till the end of the session, your items, they will be there in the cart or in the session. But the sticky session is again a drawback when it comes to other scenarios, because what happens is it will always send the request to the same server, and it will not utilize the other servers, and we might not know if the other server is down or not. And what happens is like it will keep on increasing the traffic to one particular app server, right? Even though you have multiple app servers, it will send the same request to the same app servers, so the other servers are underutilized or they are not utilized. So this will create a bottleneck. Right. So there are like several other bottlenecks in terms of the load balancers. We'll actually see that in a separate session, like during our bottleneck session where when we run a load test, we'll see like the issues when we have, what do we see with the load balancers part. But for now, it's about the spike testing, and it's about what do we deal with that. Okay, so we'll definitely discuss that, Rupachandra. Thank you. And Rajesh, I could see you have raised your hand.
Yeah, Vasant, I have a small doubt. Like as part of this test, right, we will capture some test results. Like what are the check we need to maintain? Like what are the checkpoints we need to use to capture the results as part of this spike testing or any non-functional testing? Like anyway, we are going to, like as part of spike testing, we are going to break a system by giving the multiple to twice the load or something. But what are the areas or checkpoints we need to know to document it and to mitigate it in the next release or something? Because I'm not sure, like if something goes wrong at this level, we'll fix immediately. That's right, actually.
Yeah. So what we normally collect during this spike testing is like we do collect the response times. So we do see how much response times do we achieve. So we'll create, this is not like a regular response times table. So we used to filter the response time. So we have to filter the response times on what do we get during the ramp up. So we do get a different response times. And then we have to study the response times when we are running like 250 users. And then we have to collect another response time table, what happens when we are doing 500 users table, and we have to create a comparison study on that. It's not just the regular load testing response times, right? So when you're doing load testing, you'll be having the ramp up and then the steady state and then the end. But here, when you're doing this spike, we do have to collect 3 different response times. I mean, when I say collect, we have to filter your regular response times, but then we have to see them with 3 different stages. Like one is during the ramp up, and the other one during the steady state of 250 users until you reach your 250, like from whatever you do in the 250, and then what you see in your 500. So we used to collect the response times, and then we have to also see the error rate. So do we find any errors during 250 or when we are collecting during 500? So how many 500 users are there? So when I say 500, your service does not respond, right? It's 5xx is mainly the response service issue, and then your 400 issues like 404, like the page not found, and the 400 errors. So you have to analyze all this, because this is what exactly is going to happen in your production environment, right? So you have to understand all this, and the next time you have to, like I told you, like we have to fix all these load balancer issues, and you're increasing the capacity of your machines. Either it can be scale out or it can be scaling out. So whatever your capacity increase, or in terms of any code level issue. Say, for example, it's not just only the capacity, it's also about the coding. Like, for example, if your query, if there are like any queries that needs to be optimized, yes, then you have to fix that as well, right? So all these things can be identified only when you're doing this spike testing. And also you have to check the resources as well. So when I say resources, you have to check the CPU. So for example, like your CPU might be utilized for more than like 50% or 60%. You just need to understand like how much, say, CPU has been utilized and how much memory has been utilized. So all these has to be your key performance indicators, your way of identifying it. You have to calculate all these informations, and you will see a definitely a difference between what you observe when you're doing like 250 users and what you see when you're running your test with 500 users. So that is the actual increase, and that's what is going to happen in your production as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Rajesh. Thanks for question, and thanks, Rupachandra, for your question. Any other questions before we move on to the next type?
So, Vasant, Shine here. So this type of testing is not done across all industries, right?
It depends. Yeah, it will not be across all, but I think most of us will be somewhere we are doing it. Like, for example, if a banking applications, like they do introduce some product, or if you are into some retail, yes, so retail, very often we do that. We normally throw all the tantrums to people, like, see, we have something for you, and please do the online shopping. Retail, electronics related items, yes, there are chances, but it depends on, like, the more that we educate the client and tell them that, see, if there is if this is a scenario that we're going to do some product launches, if you're going to bring something to the market, yes, we have to do that. So that's actually the role of the performance testers, engineers, to tell the team, to educate the team, to educate the business, to educate the client. Because what happens is people do not understand, like, what am I doing? So why should I do this? Or I'm going to do this, and at some point in time, what happens is, like, they do launch without any proper testing. They just go with the regular load testing, and then they will do some launch, and then at some point of time they will wonder, like, what is happening, like, why is this issue happening? We did the load test, but it's not the actual load test, right? It's supposed to be another type of testing which we have to do. But we normally do the load test, and then we have an assumption that, okay, everything will go fine. But it's normally not that way, right? So that kind of misconceptions, that kind of assumptions has to be broken down, and we have to give them the proper types of testing. Like, see, if this is going to be our objective, and this has to be the testing that has to be done.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, any other questions before we move on to the next type? Fine, we'll go with the next one. Thank you. So when it comes to the next one, the volume testing, again, everywhere, like we said, we do introduce some load. But what's the difference between the spike testing and, I mean, like any other testing and volume testing is? So in volume testing, we will evaluate the application's ability to handle large volumes of data. So when I say large volumes, we check how the system behaves when we subject the system to high data loads. It's not about just user load, it's about data loads. So that's the difference between other testing and the volume testing, because we don't introduce the load with the user, but rather we introduce the load with the data. And when we're doing it, we'll ensure that we do have stability, we do have reliability, and we do check the proper functionality. So when I say, let me just give you a quick example. So what we do is we will test the application, say for example, with 250 users. But the thing is, we will have the system with like 25% of load, like 25% of data. And when I say 20% of data, you do have 25% of data from your production. So you do all this encryption, decryption, you do masking, everything, and then you create a databases, and that will have like 25% of data. Say for example, if you have like 1 lakh record of the users, if you have like 2 million users, so you will be introducing like 25% of data, and then you will run it with 250 users, and then you will evaluate the performance of the application, and then you will increase the database load to 50%, and then you will do another testing, and then 75, or we can go directly to your 100. So after 50, you can go directly to 75% or 100. So why do we need to do this? Why, instead of we do normally introduce the load, the users, but why do we need to introduce, I mean, why do we need to make changes to the data? Like what the difference is going to be there? Any idea, guys, before we continue? Why are we changing the data size, or why are we making changes to the data amount?
Yeah, awesome. And just when we're talking about like, okay, when we increase the number of user to 250, and with 250 we are doing a volume testing, and when we are talking about the data will be also the user data, right? Like what kind of
Yeah,
data
obviously user
talking
data.
about
Yeah,
here? What kind of
user
data we
data.
are
When I
talking?
say like their transactions, transfers, or whatever, any actions that as an user we do, like adding items to the cart, anything, whatever we do.
Okay, so you're telling a complete scenario we are loading with 250 users, like that you're telling?
Yeah, so we do test the application with 250 users, like how we
Yeah.
do for load testing.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
No. What actually I want to understand. So suppose I wrote one scenario. The scenario is to add to a cart, and that
Okay.
one user will go. A user will select any product, and they will whatever configuration they will select and they will add to the cart. Okay. And after
Okay.
adding to the cart, and then we
Got
will
it.
run with one user. Okay, this is my scenario. Then I will run with 250 user, the same
Okay.
scenario. Okay.
Exactly.
And now we are running the same scenario with 250 user. Now what extra we are giving here, like 25%
Exactly.
data?
Yeah.
What?
You have asked a very good question. So just imagine, okay, the volume testing will not work for all the scenarios, but for specific scenarios. When I say specific scenarios, say for example, you are logging into Amazon.com and you are doing a search transaction, right? Oh, sorry. So when you're doing a search transaction, I don't know, something has happened. Okay. When you're doing a search transaction, okay, just imagine how many items do you have in Amazon? More than 1 million, right? So just imagine you are searching for an item and that search will be searching all the 1 million, and just imagine how much time your database query takes. And the same scenario, if you are running it with just 25% of it, like just imagine it can be like 25,000 items. So there will be a difference in searching 25,000 in your search 25,000 and in your 1 million, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you're going to do with the volume. You are doing your 250 users. All the 250 users will be searching your items in first with 25,000, and then they will search it with 50,000. So when I say 50,000, it's not just only that. It's also about, see, there will be like lots of indexes, right? So you might know about what is indexing in the databases. So lots of indexes and lots of IO operations will be happening, and a lot of database queries. It's not just only one database. It's not just about only one table. You'll have like multiple tables. You'll have like lots of microservices in between, which is connecting from one database to the other third-party applications. So there will be a lot of actions that's happening. So just imagine you're searching. Say for an example, like there is a small room. Okay, if you are asked to search someone in that small room, you'll be able to easily find them. And just imagine you're having a very big auditorium, right? Just imagine how much time will you take to search to find the same person in a small room and in a big auditorium, right? You have the difference.
Yeah, correct. So
Same way. Yeah,
yeah.
but
So
you have all the 250 users who are searching. But what happens is all the 250 users are searching for an item in a small room, and all the 250 users are searching in an auditorium. So there will be like more database queries, there will be more spinning up, there will be like a lot of IO operations. So the objective completely changes. I mean, the way like what we are seeing completely changes when it comes to volume testing and the other testing. So the difference is there. Like you are mainly giving more load, or you are not actually testing with the actual load and everything. So there will be a difference in terms of your area, the area of where you're going to identify your bottleneck.
yeah, correct. So so what I understood here is like in all the scenarios, it is not going to fit the volume testing. There will be some specific scenario, the one you told, like a search, or if you are doing a transaction, different kind of, if you are checking a payment gateway, so different kind of user payment details we can give, and we can try to check the payment gateway. So like these all areas you can fit, and there the volume testing can be more like fruitful.
So when you're talking about payment gateway will not be part of here, because all our main objective is the volume, the data, the databases. Payment gateway is a different part. Payment gateway could be a component, but not the main one.
Yeah.
Right. See, we do complete our transaction using the payment gateway, but here our objective is not payment gateway. In most of the scenarios, we don't even go to the payment gateway because that's the third party. Right. All we do is test our internal application. So we do run a lot of queries. We do check how does the data is getting stored, or how it is getting retrieved, right, under heavy volume conditions or under low volume conditions. So we will check that. We'll keep on identifying. Okay. And again, the reason here is at the end of this, you will be coming up with several database related tuning suggestions. Like, for example, you would be introducing several RAID, like you know about RAID, right? Redundant access, I mean, databases. where you have like several databases. And
Yeah.
in some point of time, what happens, like people do have without proper architecture idea, what they do is like they do have several databases as well. Like you know about the primary, the secondary, they do have several copies of it. So that is also being sorted out when you're doing this type of volume testing, because you do have you do set up unwanted or like unnecessary amount of databases, like copy of it, like redundance of it. So you can actually bring it down as well. So there are like several other scenarios, several other cases of this. So but these things, like when it comes to the databases or IO operations or memory usage, these things will not be identified, or they will not be uncovered in other testing types, like because when we are talking about them, our focus is not there, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, like coming back here, yep. So we do check how much time is it taking while we are doing database storage. I mean, when you're like storing, like for example, you're creating a user. So when you're creating a user, when there is like 100 users, there will be a difference, and then the same occurs when you are having 1,000 users, because you do have to wait for the databases to behave, to react to you. So it will take some time. So these things can be uncovered when you are doing it. I mean, like mainly I would say the data integrity. And when it comes to the scalability, yes, so we are going to increase the at some point of time, like okay, you will be increasing the load as well, like you'll be increasing the load, but again the main focus is on the databases. It's not about the user load, it's about only the databases. And then we'll see how much response times do they take with 250 use 225,000 load. I mean, like 25% of load and then 50% of load, and we'll see how much throughput do we get. So it's mainly focusing on the volume of the databases. So for example, like um, okay, again, like I told you, like 1 million or 10 million database products. So you have like lots of products, and you simulate the search queries in the product catalog for the price, and you look for the categories, for the availability, and you'll measure how much response times do they take and what is the database performance again. So that's how it comes to the retail applications. And same happens to your banking application. Say for example, if there are like 50 million transactions that are running, so you'll be running some batch jobs at the end of the day. Say for example, we all know, if you have been working in any of the banking application in high street banks, what happens is, like what we do normally is, at the end of the day, we used to collate all the transactions from all the banks, all the branches, right? So if you're in a banking, you know, you do make some transactions. So this is how actually the architecture works. So what happens, like you are making some transactions in your bank. At the end of the day, all those transactions, like whatever your debit or credit or you're changing everything, so they used to be collated, or they used to be sent to the common server, right? So what happens is, like every day, there will be like some a regular thing, like for 5,000 or 50,000 of data that will be sent via the batch jobs, not via the applications, but via batch jobs. Okay, so you're sending them to the common database server, or like wherever you want to store it. And at some point of time, someday you'll be there will be a lot of transactions. Say for example, on some peak day, on some seasonal days, you are making some bookings or whatever you're doing in your retail application. So at the end of the day, what happens is you're making a lot of transactions in your banking, right? You are making a lot of transactions in your credit cards. So those transactions has to be properly updated via bank to your central databases, right? So these things has to be simulated via the batch processing. So it's not just about only running your applications, it's also about the backend. It's also about doing the batch processing, and see how much time does it take when you are doing like 1 million records. How much time does it take to transfer your records, like 1 million records, and how much time does it take to transfer 2 million records. So all these things has to be captured. So you have to see how much execution time does it takes, how much memory does it take, how many error rates. Because just imagine when you are having like 5 million records, and just imagine your batch jobs is getting stopped in the middle of your transfer, right? So there will be a lot of inconsistencies, there are a lot of discrepancies, right? So to avoid that, you have to test your system with maximum amount of load, with lesser load, to see how much time does it take, what is the memory consumption, what is the execution time, and also you have to keep on increasing and to see how much time does it take in terms of your batch jobs. So in fact, I have even created a separate video on how to do the batch testing using your JMeter or whatever tools. But then this is going to be your objective, and this is how you're going to be testing your application, right? It's not just about application all the time. It's also about the other ways of testing, other components of your testing as well, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Thanks, Vasan.
Yeah, and in other scenarios, say for example, you were into a video streaming application. So what happens is, like, you'll be uploading your data, right? You'll be uploading a video file for streaming. So you'll have to understand how much time does it take for a video file that has been with a lesser space and then with a higher space, because when you are into your live programming, live streaming, automatically there will be like a lot of user requests for video streaming and for download. So you have to measure the server response times and also the streaming quality as well. So these are some of the examples, and several examples I would say, like in terms of your CRM system, you'll be inserting millions of records, and you'll have to check, you have to simulate operations like record updates, queries, batch deletion. So all these things has to be monitored. And even for social media platforms, we are all in a social media platform, and on a sudden, in some scenarios, like on a day like Diwali, like people, what we do, like we take pictures and then we used to upload millions of posts, right? And associated data with that. Like we used to add hashtags, we used to add other related data with that. So we keep on giving load to the system, but again, in terms of the volume, in terms of the data. And people used to search, they wanted to search something and then they want to sort it out, and then they want to retrieve some content out of it. So all these things happens with a different load, with increasing or decreasing load, right? So that's where the volume testing comes in. So any other doubts before we move on to the next one? Any queries?
Nothing.
Yes, Sai. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
you can go ahead. Move on to next.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so yep, let me just quickly erase this. Okay, and the next one is the failover testing. So this is again somewhere related to the other testing, but what we do in the failover testing is we do transfer the workload to the other system. So when I say other system, to the backup system, the servers or clusters, when there's a component failure. Say for example, what we do is we do the testing with the actual load, but then what we do is if we have like two systems, okay, let me tell you this. Okay, if we do have like two web servers, two app servers, two databases, right? So what we do is we do a regular testing. We do like 250 users of testing, and during this time both A and B will be running, right? During this time, until this time, both A and B will be running. And at some point of time, we will switch off A and only B will be running. And we will see how does the response times, like how does the application works? What do we see in the response times? Is there any errors? Because just imagine most of the sessions that has been sticked to the A should be gracefully transferred to your server B, right? And then after some point of time, after we get everything steady, after there are no errors, I mean, like every session has been moved to B, what we do is we stop B and then we run it with A. So now again the same thing happens. All the users who are in B should be redirected to your A servers. So it should be redirected to your A machines, and then it'll run. And then finally we will bring both of them and see how does the sessions are getting transferred gracefully, and how does the load balancer diverts the traffic to both the machines. So now you understood, right? So what we do, so we do test with the same load. Like it can be the same load that what you're doing for load testing, but then the thing that you're doing here is we are switching back the users between different servers. Like if you have like n number of servers, then based on that you can divide them, and then you can switch off the A section, you can switch off the B. And why are we doing this is, say for example, you are in a situation like if you are in a I'm not sure, like in a country where you get to see some natural disasters, any unexpected scenarios like some rains, heavy rains, and if one of your data centers, one of your on-premises centers in Chennai or in Mumbai is getting flooded, and at that point of time there will be another set of set of centers in another location, so they will be up and running, right? So in that scenario, what will happen? So to identify, to check the effectiveness of your backup systems, to check the effectiveness of your load balancers, your failover clusters, we do have to do this testing. And by doing this, we can confirm the system's ability to recover from failure without any data loss. Because when you're doing this, you have to also check whether there are any data losses as well, because you're transferring some item and some users are doing some transactions, and we have to check whether that transaction has been complete or not. If it is not complete, then we have to make sure that that has to be completed and that has to be fixed via the coding. And as a performance tester, you have to take this to the developers and tell them that, see, at this point of time, this particular transaction should not be failed, right? So you have to clearly explain them like what did you do, what has happened, and then you have to tell them that, see, this has to be fixed. If there is some change, then automatically the transaction has to be completely aborted and it should not be proceeded, right? And you have to check how quickly the system transitions to the backup or to the standby component. And also you have to check the weakness, like you have to uncover the issues in the failover configuration, say for example the delays, the misrouting, or any resource constraints. So all these things has to be identified when you're doing the failover testing. And also you have to check there are no data that is been lost or that's been corrupted during your failover process. Any doubts so far in terms of your failover testing?
Yeah, Vasant. Still I'm a bit not clear of this. So how we can do that to failover? How we can do as a tester? We're simulating the load.
Okay. Actually, we don't have access to the database server. So during database servers, any servers. So we don't have access to it. So during the testing, we have to reach out to the infrastructure team, and we have to tell them that after 15 minutes of time, you have to shut down. So they will take care of it. So as a platform engineer, DevOps engineer, I know how does it work. So we have to manually stop the machines, manually stop the app servers, manually stop the VM. So if it is running in cloud, we have to stop the VMs or EC2 instances. Or if it is running in Kubernetes, yes, we have to kill the pods, or we have to pass the pods. So by doing that, you're going to have only one set of machines up and running.
You mean to say that if there are two pods running in one service, right? If we just need to
Clusters, not the pods, clusters, yeah.
Yeah, cluster. If we restart both the pods, whichever is running in this cluster, if we restart all the entire pods, again when it comes up, that the request which you have triggered already, that should not get failed, right?
Exactly, all the scenarios. Yeah, if one of the cluster is not running, it should not fail. When I say it's not fail, it will fail, but we have to fix that. We have to make them that the transaction is not aborted or it's not failed in the middle of the transaction. Say for example, in a scenario where you're transferring a money, okay, your transfer has happened. Okay, the amount is taken from your account, but it is not debited in the other account. So that's a failure, right?
Yeah.
That has to be fixed. If it is not done, then it has to be reversed or it has to be aborted.
Okay. Once the request has gone to the server, means cloud means that's something to be handled by the cloud itself, or some our development team need to handle it.
Yes, the development team has to handle, but they do not know without any proper testing, right? So that's where we come in. We have to tell them at this point of time or this scenario, this kind of failure is happening or this scenario is happening. So please make sure that it's not happening by fixing the code.
Okay.
Because the objective of developers and the testers always changes, because they do have an objective, they do have mindset to build applications, and we do have a mindset to actually break them, right? Because only when you keep on breaking them, you're going to fix this in a real-time scenario, right? Say for example, the same scenario, like you are doing your transaction, some emergency transactions, and just imagine one of the server in Chennai has broken down. The money is taken from your account and it's not been deposited to your friend's account or your family account, right? What happens? You lose your money and they are also not credited to that money. right? And you have to go to
Cloud,
bank, and then you have to explain the situation, and then there are a lot of actions. And just imagine if it has not been properly handled, what will happen? Like lots of users will get disturbed out of this, right? So to avoid all these scenarios, we are going to do this kind of testing.
okay. When the transaction is in middle, when the server goes down, we should have some it is something that status, right? Status of that request to. So I'm confused that if the request is in middle, we have sent the request to the server, but server has went down. We haven't returned any handle ID or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Track on
So
further.
when you are in the middle of your transaction, right, and one of your server goes down, as a end user, you should not know what is happening in the background.
Yeah.
The server, the load balancer, should gracefully transfer your session to the existing server, to the working server,
Yeah.
right?
That
So
that is
as
the
a end
job of the
user,
cloud. Yeah.
sorry.
And that to be handled by the cloud or itself or from the development team is something.
Yeah, see, everything that we do will be handled by the development team. But as a performance tester, you're going to tell them, see, this is failing, please do handle that.
Here we are basically checking whether that is properly handled or not, right?
Exactly. We are actually checking whether it is properly handled or not. We are checking whether anything is going wrong. We are not going to fix anything. We are going to tell them that, see, this has to be fixed. There is a scenario, there is an opportunity for you to fix something because it is failing at this point of time. If it really failed. If in some scenarios it won't fail because automatically the cloud setup is there and people will develop their code, but it's not in all the ideal scenarios. In some scenarios, yes, there will be failures, there will be some misses. People used to be like very naive to this scenario. They won't know what is happening. So that scenario, yes, we do tell them. We have to tell them that, see, this is what happening. There is some inconsistency or some breakage in transactions, like I told you. The breakage between one transaction to the other transaction. Yes, in that scenario, yes, we have to tell them. See, at this point of time, it is getting broken. There are some issues with the load balancer. It is not properly redirecting the traffic. All this has to be taken to them. So that's why we are doing this. So we have to take all of these to the table, right?
Yeah, understood.
Yeah, failure testing is mostly testing the load balancers here, whether they are properly configured.
Load. Yeah, again, one of the component is load balancer. Yes, again, like I told you, the scenario is different when it comes to the load testing. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the question. Yeah.
To replicate this in a real-time scenarios, we what I understood, if I initiate one transaction and with some user 250 or say 300, and in the middle of the transaction, I have to contact to the infrastructure or DevOps team to ask them, can you please turn off one of the server, and I have to see my test is getting passed or failed, and based the analysis I have to do, right? That's
exactly. So during this testing, you will have to collaborate with the infrastructure team as well, or the DevOps team. Yes, you do have to tell them. Again, that's going to be part of your planning. So all this if you're doing your failure testing, yes, this has to be properly planned. You know who are going to be the stakeholders. So that's why the test planning actually plays a major role, because when you're doing your test planning, you should tell them that who is going to be the stakeholder, at which point of time you're going to do the test, and at what point of time do they have to stop the test, to stop the missions, stop the servers.
okay. That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where the test plan, the test strategy comes into picture. Yep. So we'll see creating a test plan and everything in the next sessions. But yeah, thanks for the questions. And any other doubts, guys, in terms of failure testing? Yep, and it's not about only the servers. It's not about only the app servers or database servers. It's also about the network as well. Like for example, you do have your primary network. When say for example, we all know about the Zoom, the Google Meet, which you're connecting now, the Slack or whatever the network thing that we connect. And just imagine you have to do your testing by disconnecting the primary network and then the secondary network, and then you have to check with all of them, like to check how the call quality is working on. Because even now, when we are in this session, right, there could be several network failures that could happen, but we were not seeing, as a user, we were not seeing them, right? As a network, as a video platform user, we were not seeing that. But that does not mean that we are not facing any issues. There are issues, but they were properly handled, and for that they have to do several failover testings like that, right? And emails, when I say emails, just imagine, like, we all use Outlook, and in several days back, we were getting some messages that, okay, the Outlook was down, right? At that scenario, so you are still getting your emails. Is that because you have your backup servers up and running when the primary email servers are down? And that is, you do not want to miss any messages, you do not want to miss any emails. And same happens with the Teams as well, because they all these were like the messaging systems, right? So it's not about just only the users, it's also about not only about the database, it's also about the emails, it's also about the network, it's also about the cloud applications. So for example, like the auto scaling part. So all these plays a major role when it comes to the failover testing, and it's a big ocean, I would say, when it comes to the performance testing and when it comes to the failover testing part. So you have to explore all of them only by practice and then by proper planning, and you have to educate your stakeholders, your business. Okay, and then we'll move to the last type, that is the scalability testing. Any other queries, guys?
Hello, hi.
Yep. Hello. Hi, Johnny.
Hi,
Johnny, right?
Yeah, right then.
Yeah, hi.
It's
Hi,
failover
Johnny.
testing. Most of it depends on database only. Any other things?
No, that's what I was telling. So it's not only about the database; it's about the app servers, like the servers, the infra, the app servers, the web servers, the load balance. So you do have different load balancers, right? So you have to actually switch down the load balancers. Then you have to switch down the email servers, right? So we do have the primary email servers, backup email servers. Yes, we do connect them, switch them off, switch it off, and then the networks again. You have like multiple networks, transmitters, right? So you do switch, verify the system switches as well. So it's not just about only the databases, or it's not just only about the app server. It's also about the other components of your system.
It is also only particular domain wise using this failover testing. Other every domain it's using the failover testing. Like
Yeah, every domain, any domain has an example. Like if you can tell me any domain, I can tell you like what kind of failover testing we can do there.
Healthcare.
Healthcare. Okay, in that healthcare, just imagine your primary databases and primary app servers and machines. Like for example, you are in your peak day and people are coming in, rushing into your hospitals, right? I'm telling you an ideal scenario, and you started registering the system, like the patient details. And just imagine if one of the servers are bringing down, and you have started registering your users, and when you are bringing down, you should check whether your transactions is completed or not, right? At the middle of the server, you are entering the system, and before you complete or before you commit your transaction, it should not go failure, right? Again, you have to start from scratch. And as a patient, just imagine how much patience they will have to again start from the beginning.
Okay.
Right, you understood my point. So
Yeah.
you are entering your patient details, you are getting the details. He's there for some emergency. Most of the times you don't get in emergency, you will automatically register them, but still some of them, the patients relatives will be there to enter the details, right? And they are making some transactions, they are making some payments.
Yes.
For some operations or for something. And just imagine if the server goes down, what will happen? Will the payment be completed, the transaction is completed or not?
Yes.
And just imagine how much patience do we have with the people. Like you are there in some emergency situation, you are doing some payment, and at some point of time, if thing goes down, or if a transaction is failed, or if the transaction not complete, like the user has paid but it's not been credited to the hospital's account.
Yes.
These are some ideal scenarios.
Yeah, right. Majorly is existing patients is major important, right? Because store the database now. Data.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's not just about that. Just imagine your network is going down, your hospital's network, due to some random scenarios.
Okay.
And what if like the database, I mean like the transaction not completed, or if one of the switches is going down? We do not know, right? There are like millions of switches that's been running in the network, and we don't know where. As a performance system, we do not know what is where, which is running. And just imagine like one of them is going down. The network switches, not only the servers, it's about the network switches as well, right? If one of them is going down, then the transaction should not fail.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So any ideal scenario, any domain or anything should we'll actually do this before we release the application. We should definitely do this failover testing to make sure that everything goes fine.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your question, Johnny. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Okay. We'll move on to the next one, the last one, that is the scalability testing. Okay. So what we do with the scalability testing is, let me give you some quick example. So we'll be doing our load testing with, say for example, some 100 users, and then we will do another test with 150. So this is some very basic ideal scenarios, and then with 200 users. So why are we increasing the load from 100? I mean, the actual load tests, the actual load test users. So we'll be doing a load test with 100, and then we'll increase it to 150, and then we'll increase it to 200. So why do we need to do this, or why do we come up with these numbers? So what happens is like we determine how well the system behaves when we scale up or when we scale down the user load or the data volume or the resources. So for example, the business, we all know the business will actually forecast, or any business, say for example, I'm not talking about the hospital management, but any other business will always need to have an increase in users, right? In terms of retail, if this year I'm having 1 million transactions, next year I should have like 2 million transactions. I should always get some profit. Say for example, your bank transactions, so you should have more customers coming in. And say for example, like video streaming applications, you should always have people to watch more videos, more live streaming, right? So that's what the actual any business users will always have that in mind, right? So in that scenario, you will be checking your system's ability with like 100 users, and then what happens, like if the system is has increased like another 50% of load, and then how well does it behave with an increase in user load, with an increase in transactions? Like when you're automatically increasing your load, automatically there will be like too many transactions, yes, but it will be in a controlled environment. It will be within their limit. It's not like something like, I mean, again, all these tests will be executed individually. They will not be mixed. So if you're running with 100 users, yes, you do a ramp up 100 users of steady state and then a ramp down. And then if it comes to 150, yes, you do ramp up to 150, do the testing and then ramp down. Then same comes with the 200. You do test with all these user loads, and then you have to check the standard deviation, like how much deviation does it have. Like if you are running your test with 100 users for a transaction, you have to check their response times, and then same occurs with 150. So you should not see a huge deviation. So when I say huge deviation, say for example, if for 100 users for some particular transactions you are getting the SLA less than 3 seconds, you don't expect the same 3 seconds, but at least it should be less than like 5 seconds. It should not go like 10 seconds or like 15 seconds. And the same with the 200 users. Like it's like 3, it can be 5, it can be like 6 to 7. So that in that level of controlled scenario, it should happen. So that's why the scalability testing comes in. And again, it's not just only the response times. It has to be again your CPU. It has to be your memory infrastructures as well. So all these things has to be monitored. So when you're doing 100 users, the CPU can be up to like 20%, and if it goes to 25, it can be up to 25. It should not go like 50%, right? Because you're not introducing like 100%. You're just introducing 50%. So it has to be very ideal. It should not like go beyond your system capacity, or it should not be like there should be like a steady hype, or there will be like more resource that's been used. And then again, when it comes to the memory as well, if you are like when you're running your 100 users, when it's like 30% of memory utilization, it has to go up to like 35 to 40. It should not go beyond that. And that's where this deviation comes in. So if there are like too much deviations, then you have to check like what level of memory are we utilizing, like why do we need, why is there like a heavy utilization of the CPU or the memory or the bandwidth, right? So all these things has to be identified. Like we have to check the response times first, like how much response, like why is there not a consistency when there's a load increase, and how many requests or transactions can the system process per second, and yeah, like again the resource utilizations, yes. Then how many errors do we see? Like for 100%, if there are like 0 errors, and for 150, if there are like we are getting like 100 or 200 errors, we should see like why is there an error? Is there any network issue, or is that any if the network could not handle, yes, automatically there will be an issue. So we have to check all of them as well. And how much time does it take for the request to reach the server and return the response? So all these part, the latency part, everything has to be identified. Like, because when there is like 150 users, automatically there will be although you do have a better bandwidth, the throughput should be there to handle it, right? So all these things, it's not just about the service, it's also about the latency, the network, and everything has to be properly handled and has to be managed. Yeah, so any doubts, guys, in terms of scalability? Why do we need to do, and what is the objective? And it's not just about 50%, it can be even 200% of load, it can be even 300%, so you can increase it like to whatever load. It depends on the business analyst and the business's expectations.
Hi, Vasan.
Yeah, hello.
After that load, how will we increase the infrastructure level? We want to increase the load, right?
No, you are going to only increase the load, but with the same infrastructure. You're not going to increase it during the middle of your testing, or during until the testing completes.
Okay. After that, it's only increase.
It depends. If you really want to increase your, if you see, it can be either way. You can do this via fixing the code as well. You do not want to increase or scale out or scale up just to get a better performance, right?
Okay. But what about auto scaling methods?
Auto scaling, see, you're not anyways scaling your load, right? It has to be the steady state, steady load.
Okay.
Right. And yeah, if there is a scenario, like say for example, if there is some auto scaling that's been configured, if there are like more than 100 users, but even in that scenario, the auto scaling should work, but it should not have a major impact in the performance. Right. Yes, it's an ideal. Yeah, it's an ideal scenario where if you're running it with like 100 users, yes, you're running like you need 2 virtual machines, and if you're increasing it to 150, yes, obviously it should be 3 machines, not 4 or 5 machines, right?
Okay.
You should not take too much of resources for executing your load. So that actually has to be handled. That has to be actually monitored.
Okay. In this everything infrastructure, I maintain DevOps team only. Like,
Ops team will always have access. We won't give access to performance testers or engineers, because the thing is, it's not we should not give, but it's to avoid any issues or any errors. Because sometimes if something goes down, or if something goes if something has been removed, then the problem is like infrastructure engineers can handle it very well. So that's the reason. It's not like we should not give, but it's due to some policies
only
with the organizations. Yeah.
So access, right? Monitoring. We don't access increase the load. Infrastructure.
Sorry, what is that again?
Just we are only monitoring. We don't increase the infrastructure level directly.
No, not during the testing. For scalability, no, we are not going to increase it. It's only the load that we are going to increase, and that too in your load. I mean, like in your testing, not during your what to say.
Like
in the middle of your testing, you won't do it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, and so far, yeah, we completed the performance testing types. In the next session, we will start with the requirements gathering. Okay, so that's the I mean, like the main thing, because because most of us, like we were as a performance testers or as functional testers who are moving to performance testing, they'll be mainly used to do the scripting. Like they'll say, do the script, do this, that, execute this. But if you want to understand what is happening in the performance testing, or if you want to completely understand what is there, so you have to work on the requirements gathering, right? So when I say requirements gathering, there are like several scenarios, like for what happens for new application or what happens for existing application. So we'll see them all of that in our next session. We'll have a long session next time. We'll have a long one, and we'll try to cover most of the topics. And I think next week, yep, so I think our next session is on 28th, and I hope most of you will be available for that day, I think. And that's going to be the last session for our next week is going to be the last session for this year. And yeah, and that we'll discuss about the requirements gathering for performance testing, how to do that, and that's going to be more interesting. And yeah, we'll see in the next session. And like I told you, we'll have a longer session. Maybe we'll have a break in between the session as well. Please do join our WhatsApp channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed yet. And like I told you, if you're someone who is interested in DevOps as well, yes, we do have some interesting news for you in the new year. And thank you so much. Thanks for joining. Thanks everyone. Thanks Ashish, Johnny, John, Manvita. Yeah, Johnny, you have something to say? Rajesh, I think you have.
Rajesh,
Yeah, Rajesh, go ahead.
we will be using here like K6 or JMeter, which one?
Now, yeah, as I mentioned, we have plans for JMeter K6, but I think they have most of the people is asking for load runner, Neurod as well. So depending on the bandwidth and people's interest, yes, we can add those as well.
Okay, because K6 I see it's very good because I'm using like from last. I see it's very easy to understand, and we can like enhance like because already you have videos on others as well, right? So
Yeah. So you do create your JavaScripts for your K6 applications, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and you are testing web applications or just the API scripts? What kind of
things are API scripts like this? Like K6 is developed by manager actually. He told me to do it. I was looking into it. He created a full framework on how to automate those things, how to get the data. Like he created the framework in that K6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are testing most of the APIs using the K6, right?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Yeah, definitely we'll see how to do the API testing using K6. Yeah, that's I agree. K6 is a kind of open source and it does not take most of your resources like any other tools. Yes, so it's a better tool, I would say. And again, we do have the K6 Studio as well nowadays. I think I have posted a few videos on that as well, like on the K6 Studio. It's again something they are trying to bring it somewhere near JMeter. But again, yeah, it's quite an interesting tool, I would say. If you have some interest, you can watch my videos on K6 Studio as well. That's more interesting. And yeah, like I told you, it's not just only about the tools, but it's also about understanding the concepts, because any can use the tools, but it's how safe are we going to use the tools, or how effectively are we going to use the tools. So for that, we need to understand the basics, and that's what I'm to build all this. Thank you so much, Rajesh. Thanks for the question, and yeah, thanks for your interest as well. Thank you so much, Manvita, Mohan, Rajesh, Ramya, Sai, Shine, Sridhar, Teja, Tilakti. Yeah, go ahead.
Recording will be available on the YouTube, right?
Yes, it will be available very soon. Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, Vipin, Vanita. Yeah, Vipin, you have anything to say?
Nothing, Vasan. Just wanted to say thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining. And thanks, Vanita, for joining. Yeah, we'll catch up in our next session. Like I mentioned, please do join the WhatsApp channel as well. Like I told you, we do have regular updates there, and then I'll update you next session. Like I told you, we'll have a little bit better, a longer session. We'll take a little bit break because I don't want to quickly complete. We do have lots of things to cover, so we do take some breaks for our next session, and then we'll do catch up next week. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining, and see you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Oshan.